Hi, and welcome to episode 16 of At the Table. My name is Helen, and today we're talking on the subject of foundations. I'm joined today by our lead pastor, Kristian Thorpe. Hi, Kristian.
Hi, Helen.
I know that this has been something that's been on your heart for a while, the subject of foundations, and something that you're wanting to walk into in the next season. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions around it, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So as Christians, what are the important foundations we need in our lives?
Yeah, it's a great question, Helen. And what I'd like to do, I will answer it, but I want to just work from just generally. I think we all need foundations in our life. So whether people are listening to me from a faith perspective or not.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the challenge that we have in the world today is that many people do things and they don't know why they're doing them. They have no basis, no foundation to work from. And if you have no foundations, then somebody once said this, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing happen in the world today. People aren't standing, they don't have any convictions, they don't have anything that they're building upon. And so really they're tossed around in all different directions. And so for me, foundations are really, really crucial in life, you know, as a person. I'm a husband, as a dad. All these things that I do are built upon a foundation. Now, to those who are Christians, a Christian journey, if I could just take us for a moment to the thought that Jesus tells the story, and it is a story, a parable, and he calls them, not me, wise and foolish builders.
Yeah.
One was wise because they built upon the rock, and when wind and rain and storms came to that house, it stood firm. And Jesus described the other one as a foolish builder because he built, his foundations were on sand, which is shifting and rocky and they'll just tumble over. And of course, that's what happened. So I really do believe that if we are going to build successful lives, healthy lives, even if I can say this outside of faith, you have to do it on the basis of foundations. And as Christians, it's really important that we take the words of Jesus very seriously and very carefully.
Yeah, great. And if you could go back to when you were a young Christian, what would you do differently?
Yeah, well, that's where this thought came from. And you've heard me talk about it, Helen, that so I was raised in a Christian home. Obviously, the teenage years just did what a lot of teenagers did. I regret some of the things. I certainly wasn't the worst, but neither was this perfect model child of a Christian in church. There was not a side of me. It was very clear that I was straddling two camps, trying to fit in with schoolmates and doing all that schoolmates do. And then, you know, I had the church life. And so when I look back on a young Christian, I wish I would have spent more time on my foundations, on my convictions, and then stood up for them, be bold with them. And I think a lot of people, again, Christians can be tempted to try and fit in, try and blend in. I understand those who don't like attention and they want to, you know, you can always spot those people. They're not out there. They're not taking selfies. They're not trying to be all that. They're blending in. But, you know, actually, whilst I'm not talking about us standing out, being extravagant, I am talking about us being standing out because we're different. And I wish I'd have done that. I wish I'd have done that a lot more. I wish I'd have been bold about my faith. I wish I'd have laid solid foundations in my life that I would have built upon. And it really took me perhaps certainly late teens into my 20s for me to really spend, and even into my 30s, to spend time on my foundations, which for anybody who's younger out there, we'll probably talk about it, of what foundations to build upon. I would say, please give attention to the foundations of your life and the foundations of your heart.
So what kind of foundations would you include in that?
Yeah, I mean, the basic stuff. We've just been in some meetings where we're talking about discipleship and how do we disciple, and whether we call it the roots of our life or the foundations of our lives. And, you know, for faith-believing people, it doesn't get any more complicated than living according to the Bible.
Yeah.
So when Jesus tells that story about foundations, he says, build your life upon the rock.
Yeah.
Of course, he is the rock
Yeah.
that we build upon. So building our lives around Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things, building our lives around Jesus. Jesus was asked a question, what is the greatest commandment? And he said this, without hesitation, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. That's a foundation.
Yeah.
That I am going to love God. I am going to get to know his ways. I'm going to get to know about him. And how do we do that? Well, we do that through the concentrating of reading the Bible.
Yeah.
So it's not a dusty book to be left on a bookshelf. So that's a foundation.
Yeah.
Giving ourselves to the Bible, giving ourselves to prayer.
Yeah.
And I know prayer is really difficult, and we've talked about this on other occasions. It's one of the things, Helen, I actually find the most difficult.
Yeah.
I don't mind reading my Bible, but praying, because I get distracted.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
so
it's
easily
interesting,
distracted. My mind can be filled with a million and one things. It's just how I am.
Yeah.
But I've had to learn the rhythm and the practice of spending time alone
Yeah.
in prayer. And that lays a foundation. Why? Because I need to hear from God.
Yeah.
And I need him to say things to me.
Yeah.
Church is another massive foundation.
Yeah.
You know, some people, and you maybe people listening to us today or watching us, and your practices, and please, I'm really not trying to be judgmental or point the finger. They may say, well, you are because you're the pastor. But there are some people, their rhythm of church life is they're there once, then they're not there, then they're there, then they're not there for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I know there's some occasions when there's things that happen, but it seems like we're inconsistent.
Yeah.
And for me, attending a gathering, a corporate gathering, which I would call a church service, is a great foundation.
Yeah.
Worshipping God, spending time in worship, praising him. Again, that's not something that came natural. Everybody will think there's nothing natural about me in prayer, worship, but it's not a natural thing. I have to lean into that. Some people love worship.
Yeah.
I would love the word a little bit more than I would worship in.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn to do that. Being with other Christians, allowing disciples. These are foundational truths. Being accountable, talking to people, working through stuff, not hiding, which I'm tempted to do, walking these things. These are all foundations that I believe if we'll lay into our lives, we'll begin to build a life that is healthy, that's whole, that's fulfilled, that's blessed, which I guess all of us want.
Yeah. And I suppose if it's something that doesn't come naturally to you, it's something you have to learn and keep doing, don't you?
That's true. It's a really good point.
To keep building.
Yeah, some of these things aren't natural.
Yeah.
You know, when I've been involved in some building projects, renovations, and when this building in Ilkeston was put up, I mean, the size of the foundations, the ground workers were digging out muck like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And that's the point. It's not easy work.
Yeah.
Laying foundations is not always easy. It doesn't always come easy.
No.
But if you want to build something that's going to stand the test of time, and life is like that. I want to build a life that people would look on and say, Kristian's got a great life. I haven't got a charmed life, but I've built a great life. I want to have a good marriage. I want to have a good family. I want to be a good pastor. I want to be a good friend.
Yeah.
Well, how do those things, they don't just come. You have to build these things into your life. So it's true. They don't come easy.
No. And how do we make sure that we put the right foundations in our lives?
Yeah, well, I think you have to really, some of the stuff that I've talked about, Helen, I think you have to, establish that they're important to you.
Yeah.
So when I look at my life, I look at it like this now. What is really important?
Yeah.
What I have for food tonight is not really important, unless I'm forever binging out on double quarter pounder meals and I do that every night, then it's not going to help my health. But you get the point.
Yeah.
What I eat at night, where I go on holiday, in some ways, they're not the important things. You have to establish what are the important things of our lives. Well, for me, first of all, as a Christian, forget that I'm a pastor, I want to be someone who knows God. I want to be a friend of God. I want him to be my friend. I want him to be first, front and central. So that's the priority.
Yeah.
So I need to spend time with him. If I want him to be my friend, I want to spend time with him. I'll go back to, I'm married to Caroline. I want to be I don't want to just be good, actually. I want to be a great husband.
Yeah.
That is not just going to happen, because fundamentally I'm selfish.
Yeah.
We all are.
Yeah.
So I've got to then build these things into my life. Does all this make sense?
Yeah.
I've got to build what's important to me. I establish, and then I say, okay, what do I need to build into those things that are important?
Yeah.
And as you go through life, wife, children, friends, church, these are things that are important to me. God, important to me. Where I live, I love where we live, love the car that I drive, but they're not important.
No.
They're not the things that I want to be founded on.
Yeah.
I want to be found on those things that are important. And then I begin to invest. That's the word, invest into those things.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, what I've realized with investments, if you invest in the right things, it brings a return.
Yeah.
And if I will invest over my life, that I've really been concentrating on this, I guess for the last 30 years, as I've invested in the right things, then it brings a return. And hopefully you can see the blessing of those returns.
Yeah. And is it something that you have to keep going back over, not just, okay, I've done it, that's fine.
Wouldn't that be easy, Helen?
Yeah.
It'd be so easy. So there are some things that I don't find easy. I've joked, I've never found exercise the most pleasurable. You probably love to go and run 30 miles in a I don't know. It's never been me. Caroline now says to me, we need to do weights.
Yeah.
We need to do weights because I'm now in that period where I'm now 50. All the over 50 adverts apply to me. It doesn't feel right, Helen, actually. But I'm now 50. I'm 52. And she says, we have to do weights because you need it for your muscle mass or whatever, all those kinds of things. Do I enjoy doing that? Not at all. Yeah. Do I do it once and I think that'll do? Well, actually, that's what I sometimes think. She's not seeing me, so I'll do it once and then. But it's not going to, you have to keep going back to those things that are going to build something. So that's in the natural. So in the spiritual, you have to keep discipline, keep going back to those same things. And it actually, what I've realized is, for some of them, you can tell it was a chore. What I ask the Lord is, may the chore become the joy.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're just surviving. God doesn't just want us to survive. He wants us to thrive.
Yeah.
But to get to the thriving, sometimes we have to just survive.
Yeah.
We have to go through the pain threshold until it becomes a joy. But there are those things that you must build into your life. And a lot of my pastoral counsel, talking to people who find themselves in difficulties, the same things, is because they just think they can do it once and then that's it.
Yeah.
Or they do it and then they forget about them. I'm afraid that is not a life that you can build that is going to be successful or going to thrive.
Yeah. And when you were putting these foundations in place, did you have someone that would help you along with it? Because obviously I've seen you're very good at helping people as a pastor, building the foundations with your children as well, putting the foundations in place. Did you have a person that helped you with that?
I think I've sought to be, have I always been a great listener? No. I think the older I've got, the more I've realised actually we need to be slow to speak and quick to listen.
Yeah.
So I try and listen a lot more than I think I've ever done. So when I listen, I learn.
Yeah.
So I try and watch people. And by the way, I've said I'm in my 50s. Sometimes that's watching people in the 30s who are doing things better. So I listen and learn. So it's not just about age.
Yeah.
There have been numbers of people who have been incredibly helpful along my journey, both in life and in Christian life.
Yeah.
Some people have just how they've lived their life, incredible examples, heroes in many ways. And then there's a handful of people who I look on and the real heroes of the faith. And then just around family, people in our church, try to listen, watch how they do things. If you want to be successful, and I use that term really carefully because I think it's gone some way in the world. How do we define success? Well, people define it by where you live or what you own or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say it's completely different. But if you want to see a person who's healthy, who's successful, who's thriving, well, if you want to be that person, go and find somebody who is that person.
Yeah.
And then go and learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
Watch what they do.
Yeah.
Go and imitate it. And of course, that's why for me the Bible is so important. I realize whilst I love King David, I love the story of Nehemiah,
Yeah.
I love some of the apostles, but you know, the one who's impacted me more than all those is Jesus.
Yeah.
Just reading the Gospels, seeing how he lived, and then saying, I want to be just like Jesus.
Yeah.
And then you begin to bring change to your life, and change comes.
Yeah. That's great. And how do we make sure, you've said earlier, we need to keep building on the foundations. How do you make sure we keep building on them and we realize when we need to go back to the start?
I think we don't measure enough. So in my life, I'm realizing more and more. I'm an explorer. I'm quite spontaneous. Do I like discipline and order? No, that's Caroline's job. You've got a husband who's like me, and in many ways just want to be out there doing it. I don't reflect too much. I've said before, I don't reminisce an awful lot actually.
Yeah.
But what I've learned to do, we have a phrase around Arena about measurement. You know, what you measure shows you what you really value, and measurement is so important. So let me say it like this. Okay, at the beginning of the year, where is my measurement of not just quantity but quality time with Jesus, spending time with him? And you can easily do that by how much time have I spent with Jesus. Another foundation, let me move it away from. I want to manage my money better.
Yeah.
So we can easily measure, where have I spent the money? Have I saved a little bit more? Have I given some more away? What I'm saying is, I think in life, I want to lose weight. So I have a measurement. This is how much I weigh.
Yeah.
Let's see over a month. Let's see how I'm doing. 3 months.
Yeah.
I don't think we measure enough in all aspects, and I think we should.
Yeah.
I think we should measure. Be realistic. This is where I am, because that's. I mean, this could take me everywhere. I don't think sometimes we're honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
We deceive ourselves.
Yeah.
I think we have to take an honest view. Sometimes some people need to help us with that. Once we've got the reality, okay, I need to build more in this particular area of my life. You know, so one of the things that I want to do in this next season, I want to be a man who not just memorizes God's word, but knows God's word. I want to know God's word more.
Yeah.
So how do I do that? I've got to read it more.
Yeah.
I've got to commit to memory. I've got to go back over it. So my measurement is, have I grown in my knowledge of the Bible? How much of the Bible have I read?
Yeah.
What can I bring back to? Does all this make sense?
Yeah.
So measurement is so important.
Yeah.
And then, of course, having a goal in sight. This isn't goal driven. My goal is for me to become, it's grandiose. It's a bit aspirational. Please don't think I'm being in any way obnoxious, but I want to become more like Jesus.
Yeah.
I want to become more like him. So there's my goal. There's my quest. What am I going to do? What am I going to build into my life?
Yeah.
And foundations you can't see. You can only see the structure above it.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the things that are unseen,
Yeah.
you cannot build upon it.
Yeah.
So it's in the unseen areas of our lives
Yeah.
that we need to concentrate on.
Yeah.
Because you could say, oh, that Christian is a great guy. That Christian is a great boss. That Christian is a great husband. That Christian is a great dad. And yet I could be a pig to my wife. I could be terrible to my kids.
Yeah.
I could be awful. Because what you're seeing is, because you can put all masquerades on.
Yeah.
What I want to be is actually in the unseen part.
Yeah.
It's again, root and fruit. Root produces fruit every time.
Yeah.
And if the root is good, the fruit will be good. If the root is bad, the fruit will be bad.
Yeah. Because the thing is, we can put on a show, but if we've not got those foundations, we'll soon get knocked down.
Exactly. And it's those things that you build in, and then you measure them. And not being too hard on yourself, I guess. over my life. I think it's just who I am. I can be really, really cruel with myself at times, hard on myself, too much.
Yeah.
I've said many, many times when the Lord talks to me, when I'm writing, when I'm praying, when I'm reading his word, there aren't many times he never rants and raves at me. He always says sweet, tender things to me.
Yeah.
He'll bring correction because he loves us.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we are too hard on ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Please don't be too hard on yourself, but just take these words to heart that we need to build solid, godly foundations.
Yeah. Great. And just to finish off, is there if anyone's listening that has gone away from their Christian foundations, is it easy to put them back in place?
It is easy. It's going to take some tough decisions, though.
Yeah.
Because, we enter into lifestyles, don't we, and patterns.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what that is. Some person who may have known the Lord and have been hurt by others.
Yeah.
Because hurt people. That's the difficult thing. You've got to release that hurt. You've got to swallow your pride sometimes. Some people who've drifted away from God, they think, well, other people are going to say, and well, actually, if they do, so what? But most people would rejoice. At Arena Church, we don't have, the story of the prodigal son. We never want to have the spirit of the bigger brother.
No.
Never.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how far people have gone, whatever they're involved in. I want to tell you, I've got big arms. People call me a big cuddly teddy bear. My arms are open.
Yeah.
I want to receive people to come. So the first step is always the most difficult.
Yeah.
But come back to God. Begin to build those foundations that you know to be true in your life. Get others to walk it through with you. That's the other thing that, I would say, which you commented of other people been helpful. We need others.
Yeah.
It's the one another. Because there's times when we get low, there's times when we get down, and I think some people wander away from the truth, have shipwrecked the faith.
Yeah.
Because they've been disappointed, they've been hurt.
Yeah.
They feel let down. And we need one another.
Yeah.
So, come back. If you're hearing this, please come back. Don't stay where you are, because if you stay where you are, you'll end up like the prodigal son, just in the pig's will.
Yeah.
You'll just stay where you are.
Yeah.
Make a decision to get out of your mess. Make a decision to get back to a local church. Make a decision to put your trust once again in Jesus, and ask some people to walk you through. And I want to tell you what I know to be true. Every time I've messed up with Jesus, Jesus has always been there with his loving arms open, ready to wash me down, put a new robe on me, put a ring on me, say, you're mine, you're my son.
Yeah.
No, you're not a slave, you're my son. And it's a beautiful thing. So come back.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been brilliant.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, and please look out for all our other At the Table episodes.